Basics. What is currency? Medium of exchange, unit of account, portable, durable, divisible, and fungible. We throw on a store of value, and that's what gives us money. Editor, let's throw up a chart of gold. And this shows you the purchasing power over the last 100 years or so. Now let's throw up a chart of the United States dollar and look at its purchasing power over the past 100 years. That is a perfect example of the difference between currency and money. What's also interesting is if you think about what could have possibly been money for the last 5,000 years of human history, you got to start with the periodic table. And I saw this on a Real Vision video. We'll put a link in the description below. Well, it's a process of elimination. We eliminate all the gases, anything that dissolves in water or reacts to air. Obviously, anything that's radioactive, we don't want that. And we eliminate anything that's discovered recently or was not divisible due to a lack of technology. When you do that, you're only left with two things. Can you guess what those two things are? I think you can. Gold and silver. The bottom line is currency is just a way for you to trade your production for another person's production. Money is a way for you to store your excess production in a way that it maintains value. In other words, a store of value. Step number 2, consumption equals production. We've got our very basic economy. This gentleman produces cattle, wheat, and cotton. In order for any of them to consume, whether it's the people that are doing the producing or the people who can't produce for themselves, maybe it's children or the disabled, they have to first and foremost produce the goods that are consumed by everyone in this economy. If we come over to our new economy, the Federal Reserve and the government, all they're doing is distributing these green pieces of paper that we call currency. Well, if there's no beef, wheat, or cotton, it doesn't matter how many currency units or green pieces of paper you have, there's not going to be any consumption. And it seems obvious when we separate it like this, but for some reason, when we take the currency and insert it into this real economy, we get very confused and we start conflating the currency units with the ability to consume. We've got to remember that currency in and of itself does not buy consumption. The only thing that buys consumption is production. Step number 3, how this works in the real world and your economic survival game plan. Based on step number 2, we know production equals consumption. Currency does not equal consumption. In the real economy, the people that are producing goods and services, just like you and I, they keep their excess production in the form of currency in their bank accounts. But the smart people, as you guys know, hold gold and silver and hard assets. But again, this is just a reflection of the cattle, wheat, and cotton that was actually produced. So when the government comes in and they need to consume, they have to steal some of your excess production. So they're not really stealing the currency, they're stealing what you produced. And they steal from you in the future. This is when they sell bonds and deficit spend. They take some of your production and they waste it. Well, let's be honest, they waste the majority of it. They take a portion of that production and they go to other countries and kill people with it. Then they take some little teeny crumbs that are left over from the killing and the waste and they distribute it to other members in our society. Now we insert the Fed. They don't produce any goods or services. The only thing they produce is this currency. And they build an entire system, a fake economy that I call the financial economy, solely from printing these currency units out of thin air. So if this economy doesn't produce anything, then how does it consume? This is where the con comes into play. They come into the real economy and they steal the excess production that's being held in the form of the currency that they can produce. They create more of these currency units, which creates inflation, whether it's current inflation or future inflation. That's how they steal this excess production from you without you even knowing it. Then what happens is they take that excess production that they steal from you and sell it right back to you for the goods and services that you produce. What ends up happening is you don't become any richer. It's a wash. You actually become poorer because you have the same amount of purchasing power with the excess production that you have, but you have fewer goods and services because those goods and services are now being consumed by this economy that doesn't produce anything. The bottom line is this financial economy enslaves the individuals in the real economy without them even knowing it. Oh, but wait, there is more. The smart people hold their excess production in gold and hard assets. This makes it very difficult for the Fed to steal from them, but the majority of the people don't understand that. All they see is their standard of living continually going down. But over here, they see the financial economy booming. So they think that the only way that they can get ahead is take what little production that they have left and transfer it from the real economy over into the fake financial economy. At some point in time, this is a house of cards that has to collapse because it doesn't produce anything. No goods and services. When this comes crashing down, that means that all of the people that took their production and moved it over into this phony economy lose everything. Now let's explore your economic survival guide. It starts with an honest evaluation of your assets and your portfolio. If you have stocks in the S&P 500, you've got to go back to 1980. Editor, let's pull up the chart right now. You'll see that the S&P 500 since 1980 has gone up 10 times. Why is that a big deal? Because in that same time frame, real GDP has only gone up 3 times. That's reflected very well when you look at the market cap to GDP, which is at 150%, an all-time high. The rest of your net worth is most likely in your home equity. If you look at a chart of that going back to 1890, adjusted for inflation, it's tough not to come to the conclusion that at least 50% of the equity you have in your home is a result of financial engineering. I know a lot of you are watching this right now and saying, yeah, George, I know, but the S&P has always gone up, and housing, with the exception of a little blip in 2009, that's always gone up as well. And I get the whole production equals consumption thing, but I don't think so. I think prices are going to stay the same, or I think they probably even go up. And the Fed, well, they'll just continue to prop up asset prices. And Japan, they'll never have a crash. They can just print all the money they want, all the QE, it doesn't matter. If that's your mindset, I would encourage you to look at a chart of the GDP in Venezuela. Editor, let's pull that up right now. And then let's look at a chart of the stock market in Venezuela. Look at the hockey stick-like growth in those two charts and ask yourself if you think Venezuelans are richer now or before. But it's not all bad news. If you think about the fact that production equals consumption, then if you just focus on yourself, improving yourself, educating yourself, and learning how to produce more than you are right now. It doesn't matter if we go into a slow decline like the British Empire, if we go through hyperinflation like Venezuela, or if everything comes crashing down and we're living in caves eating canned goods. As long as you can produce more than you consume and you keep that excess production in the form of gold, hard assets, or Bitcoin if you prefer, you're going to do all right. I'd like to personally thank Lindsay Malatek, Kenneth Turgeman, David Long, and E.C. White, all of whom have donated to the channel through PayPal. I sincerely appreciate it. And for any of you watching who would like to donate as well and support the channel, you can do so. We'll put a link below to the PayPal. You can also find it on the About section of the YouTube channel homepage. For more information like this, check out this content right here, and I will see you on the next video.